The stunning landscapes of County Mayo in Ireland's Wild West. It's hard to believe the grass could be greener anywhere else.
I was working for a while and I thought things might pick up, and I said I'd just kind of let it sail along and see what happens, but it wasn't really working out, so I just kind of came to the conclusion there was nothing really else here for me, so I said I'd just go abroad.
In a few days' time, Alan Niland will leave the bitter cold of Mayo and head for what remains of summer in Melbourne and a brand new life. And that means leaving friends and family behind.
I knew there was something bothering him for a few days. So I dragged it out of him.
He was too worried to tell you?
Yeah. So he said he was going to Australia. And I just gave him a big hug and said that we'd support him in any way we could.
In the 6 years since he left school, Alan Niland has earned good money as an electrician. But he's now among the 1 in 3 Irish men under 25 who can't find work. It's futile looking for work here. To kill the boredom, he heads out into the countryside with his younger brother, Aidan.
All right, hop in there, so. You right? Yeah. Pull!
The keen sports shooter will be the first in his family to leave home and the country in search of work overseas.
Pull!
Did you try to convince him not to go?
No. No. It's very hard to see young people not getting up in the morning, lying in bed until 12 o'clock. So it was the right decision for him. It'll be a good experience. It'll be hard to see him go, but it's the right thing to do.
I'd imagine it'd be an awful lot harder if I didn't know anyone over there. You know, if you're just going out there and didn't know anyone, I don't think I'd do it then.
He's never been to Melbourne, but it won't be entirely foreign to him. Many of the players from his local sports club have already made the trip. Gaelic football may be played with a round ball, but it's the closest game in the world to Aussie rules. And his expat friends have found their skills are in high demand.
What's they're playing back north, isn't they? Like
Yeah,
Sir Stephen was playing now.
No, they're playing for an Australian club.
Are they?
Seeing something. Oh! Pierce Hanley and Balladrine is playing for the Brisbane Lions.
The Ahamore Club in Mayo, just like any other in Ireland, is as much about the sport as it is a social centre where lifelong friendships are made and held. Alan and his mate Donald Byrne have known each other since they were in Little League. But soon it will be time to say goodbye.
It's, you know, it's hard at the times. I've been to the train station in Ballyhonus and I've seen all these lads leave and come back and think, oh, they'll be back in 2 years. Things get worse and more are going. Of course, Alan is going on the 22nd, so I have another trip to the train station and there'll be no one left soon.
2 years ago, the Ahamore footballers were the county's reigning champions. Now they can barely field a team.
Stephen Lennon was in Melbourne. He is in Melbourne. Stephen Brady's in England. Shane Morley was in Melbourne. David Kinney is still here. Gordon Cribben. Paul Hunt, his brother James, who's on the subs, is in Melbourne. Colin Glavey was in Melbourne and Sydney. He's only home. Stephen Coyne is still there. So if you take any 8 out of a 15 squad team, you can see the difference. It's a massive, massive loss. There's no work here at the moment. It seems to be gutted, it's gone. There's nothing around. We've nothing to look forward to. One, I'm nearly the last man standing. And that's the way it is. With me bundling on my shoulder, my shillelagh in me hand, for to ramble the bushes of Australia like a true-born Irishman. And when we reached old Melbourne, well, the ladies danced with joy. Says one of them to the other, here comes the Irish boy.
Irish musicians have been writing about the pain of emigration for as long as anyone can remember. And it's these upbeat but bittersweet songs that are the soundtrack for a struggling community preparing to farewell another one of its sons.
Leaving here, it's still a big thing too, like, not everyone doesn't want to go, like, it's kind of a last resort, really.
All our young people are going. It's not only the immigrants that have come into the country. Some of them are gone home, some of them aren't. It's all our young people, all our own are going.
At 43, Sean Sherry's a lot older, but the problem's the same. He's been unemployed for more than a year. At an age when he thought he'd be well established, he's had to move back in with his mum on the outskirts of Dublin. It's the first time he's been out of work since he qualified as a chef 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Now the only cooking he's doing is for the family and for his long-term girlfriend Anne and her 10-year-old daughter Natasha.
You're all starving. Yeah.
Sean, what are you thinking of doing when you first go, Tasha?
What am I going to do?
First.
First thing you do.
Well, it'll be near the end of summer, so it'll be still nice and warm, so I'd like to go for a nice swim in the ocean. Yes, Marty, you know what I mean? Why have a six-pack when you can have a keg?
There's usually enough money.
Sean Sherry has been offered a job on a cruise ship based in Australia, and he just can't afford to turn it down.
I don't think he likes to admit it, it's hard. He puts on a face in front of everybody saying, yeah, it's great, it's brilliant. But lying in the bed at night, it's not. The reality hits home with his mum, his family, his friends, everybody.
Sean is one of 4 sons. He'll be the third to leave the country to find work.
The Irish have a history of fleeing the country when times are tough. It dates back to the 1840s when the potato famine drove 1 million people away. There was another wave of emigration in the 80s. A hunger for work saw 400,000 people leave. They say the numbers this time are worse than that.
And you're doing the right thing by making the decision to go.
A group of foreign visa experts are dispensing advice to people sick of life in Ireland. In the past 12 months, Australian visa requests from Dublin have jumped 60%.
We used to get quite a number of people inquiring about heading out to Australia and other countries on the type of a working holiday visa. But now what we're seeing is quite a dramatic change from that type of a profile to more family-orientated migration.
Not so long ago, these monthly information nights might have drawn a couple of hundred. Tonight, more than 3 times that number have shown up.
Unfortunately for the likes of Queensland, who got devastated with the floods, they're going to need 28,000 houses over the next year. We have all the guys here, carpenters, plumbers, block layers, engineers, the whole lot, that can go out and take these jobs. Thanks a million, man. Nice to meet you. Take care. See you now.
In this jam-packed room just outside Dublin, Australia really does sound like a lucky country where jobs and opportunities abound.
We've been interested in going to Australia the last couple of years, the way the country is going. Just want to get out and give the kids a better life.
Been working the last 25 years and first time in my life I'm unemployed, and to be honest, I don't see any prospects of employment in the near future.
Do you have a family?
I have 2 young children, just 1 3 weeks old.
We've never been out of work since we left school. Even in the 80s I was never out of work. I had 3 part-time jobs, but I was always working, And now to not being able to get an actual part-time job, that's just nuts.
Until 3 years ago, the Emerald Isle was turning the rest of the world green with envy. Its company tax rates were among the lowest in the world, attracting the likes of Google and other big-name foreign firms. This country saw its economy grow at close to 6% a year. There was an abundance of jobs and cranes dominated the skyline. But in a flash, it was over. Ireland was forced to go cap in hand to the international community for a $100 billion bailout. All down to its obsession with real estate.
For most of the past decade, Ireland has been in the grip of a housing boom. Not buying and selling, but building. Construction got so big it employed 1 in 4 workers. Estates like this one began springing up everywhere. Not only in the cities, but in places like this, where houses soon outnumbered families. Now the boom's over, there are 300,000 houses empty.
At this development in the capital, the advertising boards promised a luxury lifestyle. Homes that were for sale in 2006 for €500,000, 5 years later, can't attract buyers at even half that price. They've been dubbed ghost estates. They're a haunting reminder of how Irish banks binged and how the government lost all sense of proportion.
We were borrowing loads and loads of other people's money and putting it into houses. And that gave me, as an economist, a big alarm saying, wow, this thing's going to end really badly.
10 years ago, former central bank economist David McWilliams was the first in Ireland to warn that the Celtic tiger was about to experience a slow and painful death.
I just said the housing market is going to not only weaken, but it's going to collapse. And when it collapses, the banks will collapse. And more to the point, when all this happens, a generation will be stuck with huge mortgages in negative equity. And that generation is the generation that is now emigrating.
Mine is the actual very top one, the slope to roof. It's
Is it both rows level?
Yeah, both the top there and all the way back.
Sean Sherry can only show us his apartment from the outside. It's rented. He was forced to move out more than a year ago after he lost his job and couldn't afford the €1,000 a month in mortgage repayments.
I paid $320 for mine, so when I was renting my out recently, again I was told that if I wanted to sell it I'd be lucky to get 190. So I've lost quite a lot of money.
And with that loss came overwhelming anxiety.
I was driving home one day and I just had a panic attack. What am I going to do? It's on the motorway, I had to pull in, and I was just on the just panicking, what am I going to do? My God, I can't get a job.
He realised there and then that this is what it is. I'm unemployed. I have an apartment I can't afford. I have car insurance which I can't afford anymore. Tax for the car, everything hit him, and the outlook was grim.
We've never had a boom before. So in a way our boom was much more amplified because it was totally new, and unfortunately our bust is much more degenerate.
What was particularly unique about the Irish experience?
We went from being a country with a banking system to a banking system with a country stuck onto it, because the banking system became 3 times bigger than the gross national product of the country, which is kind of phenomenal.
7.
Even the trusty old game of Monopoly got caught up in Ireland's housing hoopla.
Wicklow Street, it's not worth 3 million anymore, is it?
Paper money's been replaced by a credit card machine, so players can access millions of euros for prime real estate. It's as if Ireland's bankers and politicians were playing from the same rulebook. Fantasy property plays and funny money for everyone.
These are the things what the bankers won't talk about. They were literally throwing away money. I was getting checks, you know, if you want to finance your car or buy a new car, here's a check for 20,000. You've already been approved. I've got 4 or 5 of those checks.
It was on for young and old.
It's just too easy to get money, that's all.
So is part of the reason you're going to try to pay those back?
Try and pay them off, yeah. Yeah, I want to get rid of them too and all, so like if you tell the banks that you have no money, you have no work, they don't really care, like, so they just want their money in every week or every month, whatever it is.
You know, the man in the street could see something wasn't right. But no, the banks dished out the money and developers built these houses. It's awful sad. They destroyed the whole fabric of rural society and urban society. The whole fabric is just totally different.
What you had was a golfocracy here. Not a democracy, a golfocracy. The people who played golf ran the country, and they all seemed to hang out together in golf courses. The banks, the developers, and the government, in cahoots, took over the country. And by that I mean the government allowed the developers to do anything. They allowed the banks to do anything because they were getting 28% of the cost of the price of every new house in taxation, which allowed them to look brilliant.
Bankrupt, bollocksed and bewildered, it sums up the sentiment towards Irish politics.
When so many people are facing the pain of unemployment, the pain of emigration.
Well, where are those jobs now? Clearly, for so many of our young people, they're in Australia and elsewhere across this globe.
Fianna Fáil has been ruling Ireland for 13 years, a centre-left party that became a beacon for the so-called Irish in the boom, but in the bust, it's been piling debt on debt. Last year, it spent $25 billion more than it collected in taxes. With unemployment now at 14%, it's little wonder people are heading for the exits.
Brian will now give short comments and then answer as many questions as you wish.
Emma Alberici from ABC Australia. It would appear that one of your biggest exports right now is skilled labour. As we move around the country, we can see the profile seems to have changed. It's husbands, it's wives, children being wrenched away from families where they would perhaps prefer to stay.
And not all of them are being wrenched from their families. Many of their families are continuing to reside here in Ireland while they work abroad because they're of an older age, if you like. But it is, of course, regrettable. We had an unsustainable building boom, a construction boom in this country from 2003 to 2008. My party leader has taken full responsibility for this, so have I.
But but it's people like Sean Sherry who are paying the highest price. Leaving behind the life he's loved and those who've become a part of it.
I've met someone, I like her very much. I see a future with Anne. You know, what future do we have now when I go away? Like, she's got a young child, she wants to keep her daughter here. What do you mean it'll be our last walk? We have lots of walks to do. It won't be our last walk. No, something will probably come up.
Anne O'Connor, Sean's girlfriend of 3 years, and her daughter Natasha are staying put. Anne won't be making the move to Australia, even though she was made redundant just last week.
Why don't you go to Australia with him? I don't think I can take Natasha from her nanny. I mean, my mum has been great to me and everything, and it's a case of my mum is like 74 this year. I would go if I wasn't a single parent. I would be gone in the morning without a care.
It's very hard. It's very hard listening to someone, you know, that really cares for you and wants the best for you, but at the same time they know they have to let you go. I'm, 43 now, and, you don't get that much opportunity to meet people again, and like, that's the thing.
I bought a house at the height of the boom and now it's worth nothing. Yeah.
The Irish have made laughing at themselves a national sport, even in a crisis.
Wonderful. So I'm in negative equity. For those of you who don't know what that is, negative equity means that what you owe the bank is far more than what the house is worth. And if you don't know what that feels like, I would say that buying a house at the height of the boom and then going into negative equity, it's a bit like marrying somebody who then very quickly lets themselves go. In that you were never going to leave anyway, but for some reason now you feel more trapped.
If he had any choice, Sean would be staying and building a life with Anne. But he's in negative equity too.
Thank you very much tonight. Thank you.
And sees no option but to head for opportunity on the other side of the world.
I'm just hoping down the road, maybe in a year, maybe 2 years, there'll be an opportunity to come back to Ireland or something, or I'm just kind of hoping that Anne will come to Australia.
I have the Mayo hoodie here. Yeah. And that, so they know where I'm from.
Now, Alan, this doesn't seem right. You're going to Australia. You're not going away to Galway for the weekend. You know. You're going to need more than one. You're going to need more than one bag.
So.
Alan Niland is packing for Melbourne. He's already found a job there working for an Irish electrician.
It takes an awful lot of courage for somebody to uproot themselves, not to mention a family. There's an awful lot of young families going. That takes a huge amount of courage. They wouldn't be going unless they had to. It's as simple as that. It's such a long way away.
It is, sure. It is, sure.
Once Alan Niland leaves, Rita doesn't know when she'll see her son again.
You okay? Come here.